Morning, everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and get started reading the opening here, and then I'd like to, before we get started with the cases, work on voting in a new chair here this morning. I think we have enough people here to do that. So we'll start with good morning. You are attending the Animal Matters Commission hearings for March 7th, 2022. The Animal Matters Commission was established and is conducted in accordance with Article 12 of the Anne Arundel County Code. These are administrative hearings, and by nature they are informal, which means you are not hampered by the rules of evidence. However, please be aware that you are still testifying under oath. Each party will have their opportunity to state their case. After each party states their case, they will have an opportunity to ask questions of the other party. Please do not interrupt the other party. You will be given ample time to talk. In many cases, we are aware that there is a history. You may briefly tell the commission about the history. However, please focus on the issue at hand. After each case, the commission will have open deliberations. During these deliberations, the public may not participate. If the commissioners have any additional questions, you may answer that question. No further information will be heard and a decision will be rendered. This decision is a recommendation to the chief of police or her representative. The recommendation of the commission will be taken into consideration, and a final decision will be made by the chief of police or her designated representative. If, as a defendant in the case, you are unhappy with the decision of the commission, you may appeal. For citation cases, appeals are made through the District Court of Maryland. For administrative orders, which would be potentially dangerous, or vicious orders, appeals are made through the County Board of Appeals. And before we call our first case, I would like to go ahead and nominate myself, Ed Evans, as the next commissioner. I believe that Ed has been, he's the senior member on this commission that's, not directly linked to, an agency. So he's, a citizen member here. I think he's, well-versed in this and would be a great chairperson. So that would be my vote. I don't know if anyone else wants to just, second that vote, or if you guys want to discuss it, that's fine. But that would be what I would want to do.
I'm fine with seconding it.
All right. Well, that's the case. And without any discussions, all in favor? Ed, do you accept the title of chairperson?
Yes, thank you very much. I will do the best that I can, and if I should falter in any way, I would gladly pass the shoe. So I'll do the best I can.
Well, thank you very much, Ed. You'll be great. So we're going to leave it up to you, Ed. Let's go ahead and get us going here.
Oh, okay. I'm started already. I guess, Phil, I guess we'd call a first case.
Absolutely, sir. Our first case, we have Courtney Bonner versus Jennifer Corkhill for 2 animal disturbance citations 6Z ending in 05 and 0Z ending in 06 for Monty and Maggie the dogs. All parties who have an interest in this case who wish to testify may now come forward to take the oath. Please utilize Zoom's raise hand feature. I'll get you added in one at a time and then sworn in all together at the end. Bring everybody up here. Ms. Hughes, I'll start with you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I absolutely can. If you would, please state your name and full address for the record.
My given name is Antonia Hughes. My address is 11 Carvel Circle, Edgewater, 21037.
Thank you kindly. And are you a witness for the defendant or the complainant, or?
I'm a witness for Miss Corkhill.
Perfect. I'm just going to make a note here.
Do you have any other questions for me at this time, or may I mute?
Yeah, just hang out for 1 second. I'll get you sworn in at the end here. You can mute, and then when I call for everyone to give the oath, you can unmute and participate.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers. And then let's see, I have an S. Cork. If you would please unmute and start your video up. me see if I can send you a prompt.
Hello.
There we go. I've got audio. Let me see if I can get your video up. There we go. That's perfect. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
I can hear you. Wonderful. If you would please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jenny Corkill, and my address is 21 Will Eleanor Drive, Edgewater, Maryland, 21037.
Thank you kindly. And the gentleman with you, will he be testifying as well?
Yeah. Steve Corkill, the husband.
Perfect. If you would state your name and address for the record, sir.
Steve Corkill, T1 Will Eleanor Drive, Edgewater, Maryland.
Thank you kindly. Hang out for just 1 second. I'll get you sworn in at the end. And then I have a Mary Alter. If you would please start up your video and audio. See if I can send a prompt here.
Yeah.
All right, I see audio
Got it?
and video. Perfect. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful. If you would please state your name and address for the record.
Mary Alter. My address is 20 Will Eleanor Drive in Edgewater.
Thank you kindly. And are you testifying on behalf of the complainant or the defendant today?
Defendant.
All righty, I'll just make that note here. Got a lot of people, so organization is key. And then, let's see, I have actually Miss Bonner. Let me bring her up. And Miss McGarry, I believe she's looking to testify. I'll bring her up anyhow.
Hi, Barb.
If you would, please start up your audio and video. Let's see, there we go. Can you hear me okay? Oh, I don't hear anything from you, sadly. Let's see. You're unmuted, so I should be getting audio, but I'm not. Let's see if maybe we can mute you, ask to unmute. Nothing there, strange. If you have a phone handy, Miss Alter, we'll be right back around to you. I'm not sure why you're waving your hands. Give us just 1 minute here. Miss Bonner. Yes, I'll be right back around to you. Miss Bonner, if you have a phone handy, you can dial in to join with your audio. Do you have the agenda handy, the paper with the names and the passcodes on the bottom? Yes, perfect. So that'll have any of those phone numbers you can dial in to join. You'll use the webinar ID when it asks for it, and then the phone password is right under those phone numbers. So let me get back around to Miss Alter here. Miss Alter, if you would, there should be a prompt to unmute.
Mute. Okay.
Perfect. And
Barb McGarry is here because she couldn't get on at her house.
all right, perfect. And
That
Ms.
face
McGarry,
there, that's Barb.
Good morning.
I hear you. Hi there. If you would please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Barbara McGarry, 19 Will Eleanor Drive, Edgewater, Maryland, 21037.
Thank you kindly. And you're also testifying on behalf of the defendant?
Yes.
All right. Let me just make a note here.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Up there. I'm going to mute you again in the meantime. All right, perfect. I see a phone connection here. And I'm going to ask it to unmute. Might give you a button prompt.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Absolutely can. We do have a little bit of feedback from someone. Let's see. Oh, if you have audio coming in with your phone as well as your computer, it might be creating feedback. Can we mute your computer?
So should I turn one off?
Don't turn that one off.
Should I turn the computer off?
Just mute the computer.
Just mute it.
Is that any better? Oh, no. Okay. It's me.
Bill, I can't hear you now.
Yeah, I can't hear
Okay.
Phil saying anything.
Oh my gosh. The computer is muted, but still there's feedback.
And it's definitely still coming through the phone.
Oh, okay. What about that? Is that any better?
That's better.
I think we got it. Perfect.
There we go.
Okay.
That's it.
Technology.
All right.
All right. So if you would please state your name and address for the record.
Courtney Bonner, 23 Will Eleanor Drive, Edgewater, Maryland 21037.
Thank you kindly. And I believe we have everyone here now. Let me just get that there. Let me rename that. Complainant. There we go. All right. So everyone who wishes to testify, if you would unmute, if possible, and if it doesn't let you, I'll send you a prompt. Sometimes it can be a little janky. Let's see if I can send.
There we go.
Not that one. All right, I think that's everybody. So, if everyone would please raise your right hand. Do you declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Thank you all kindly. If you would please remain muted unless called upon to speak, and we're okay to proceed.
All right. Ms. Bonner, I guess you, the complainant in this case, you present your case for the commission, please.
Okay. Can I just, I'm not sure which details you need, but can I just read a kind of just a summary that I have here?
Sure. You can keep it brief. We're here only for the citations that are, the 2 citations. That is the only thing that we're here to decide today. But yeah, you can give us some background if you wish.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not sure. I sent video in to Philip, so I'm not sure, if that's already been viewed or not.
No, ma'am. It can be presented whenever you would like it to be presented.
Right.
Okay. Well, I mean, I spoke with someone last week, and they said that if there was audio in the video, that it had to be sent via email, but not over the Zoom for whatever reason. Although
No,
the video is now on my, on my phone, so I don't know how I would do that now if I'm talking on.
I do have it. I can play it anytime you would like.
Okay. 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 So I'll just read the summary because I just wanted to clarify that this isn't a matter of disliking dogs or the neighbor or any unrealistic expectations. Basically, Jen's dogs, starting in about 2019, can be heard on a daily basis, multiple times a day for extended periods of time, at extreme volumes of manic dog barking. The episodes occur every season, any day of the week, weekend, anywhere from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. And when no one's home, or when Jen or her husband are home, or their teenagers are home. So it makes no difference whether the dogs are inside or outside. I started recording these disturbances in 2019, and by mid 2020, they were occurring every single day, many times a day. There's no question that the disturbances occurred because they're clearly documented on countless videos. And there's no question that the owners are aware of the disturbances because they received a letter from animal control. I've written them a letter. I've had, ongoing verbal conversations across the yards, and yet they continue. And even though they're aware of this, the only response by Jen was basically to involve other neighbors, complaining to them that I have complained about her dog barking. In one of the videos she's seen, or many videos, but one in particular that I sent in, she's seen sitting on the ground talking to a passerby as the dogs continue, completely ignoring them. When she sees me videotaping her, she mockingly waves at me and then gets up and says, oh, there's animal control. I better go control my animals. So, again, she's aware of it and has just chosen to let it keep going on and on and on. And, it's gotten so bad to the point that I filed a case in the district court, a civil small claims court case. And literally, this has been going on for years. And the day that they got the notice that the cases had been filed, the dogs stopped barking. And, they barked normal ever since then, an occasional, what you would expect from dogs. So that just further proving that all this time, she certainly had the ability to stop the disturbances, but just chose not to, because it hasn't been an issue ever since a complaint was filed. So, it doesn't matter. She can have all the witnesses she wants, how she and I get along, how the response is back and forth, whether a different neighbor hears or doesn't hear is irrelevant. I'm the neighbor that is hearing, and that's enough of a disturbance, and that's the bottom line. And again, it's all on video. So it's not a question as to whether it happens or not, or whether they knew about it or not. It did happen, and nothing was done about it. It's not 1 or 5 or 10 occurrences, it's hundreds. So, I don't know what defense there can be for that. It occurred.
Okay. Do you have anything else, Ms. Bonner, at this time?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Would you like to have whatever video that you have played at this point?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, Phil.
Absolutely. Give me just 1 second. Let me see about getting these here.
And is this dated and timed?
It should be. I just sent the whole file, the whole video file.
Okay. If
And I wasn't even sure which incident you guys listed, if it was a specific day or not. So I just sent kind of a example of different times, different videos, because I wasn't sure. I sent in, 50 complaints, and I didn't know which date you chose out of them. So I just sent an example of the videos.
All right, so I think I have it here, and I believe I now have the ability to have audio come through it, which will definitely help. I know that's been a problem in the past, so just be ready to adjust your audio depending on the balance that it comes through on. But
No audio.
Jen's dogs barking as always.
There-
She's doing nothing. This is about the 5th time today. And it's already been about 10 minutes. My camera's cut off twice, so, but it's still going on. She's home, her husband, and 2 teenagers. Nobody walks them, and they'll just carry on just like this, even though everybody's home. The dogs are in the house. This is how loud it is with them inside.
Come on. There's no sound.
I can hear, it's very low, but I can hear the dog barking.
Yeah, but I can't hear anything. It's silent. But when I start talking, you can really hear it, and it's totally silent on my end. But as long as you guys can hear.
No, I can hear it just fine.
We got it.
She's just sitting on my yard, not doing anything, letting them bark.
That's Jenny. Who's out front? If the dogs are barking, who's out front? Candace? It's Candace. That's why they're barking.
Miss McGarry, Miss Alter, you're not muted.
Okay, is there anything else?
Well, yeah, I mean, I sent a bunch of videos, but like I said, he doesn't need to play them all, but they're all, you know, and I could barely even hear that. It would cut off, you know, every a few seconds, and then it was silent for most of it. So I'm not sure what went through you guys, but yeah, it's that was occurring, you know, 10, 15
Miss
times
Bonner,
a day.
did any of the videos have the dogs outside by any chance? You said they were inside in that video. Is there any of the videos? I don't think we need to hear all 5, but do you have, if there's one video maybe of them outside that might be good to hear?
Yeah, I have one. I do. I have one that shows the dog outside and then her eventually going onto the patio to let the dog in. I have to send
does
that
Phil
one.
have access to that video?
I'm not sure if I sent that one, but I had that one pulled up last night, but I wasn't sure if I'd already sent that one, but I can send that to him right now. It shows the black dog in her backyard right next to her outside near her patio.
Would you agree that most of the videos you sent him were typical of this one? Or are there any ones that you sent in that were different that would probably give us a better idea of what you put up with? Or is this
the one that I can?
The one that we call is typical?
It's typical. Yeah, but the one that I can send in now is probably a lot clearer. You know, you can hear it a lot better, I think, than that one. But yeah, it's typical there's also another style of barking though that the dogs do that is a little bit different from that. It's a little more intermittent, but it's a continued, you know, same high-pitched squealing with, 5-10 seconds in between each one, but that one will go on literally for a couple hours, of which
Okay.
I do have that video as well.
Why don't we do this then? If you rest at this point in time, any commissioners have any questions at this point?
I don't necessarily have a question, but if you have another video that if you can, I don't know how large the file is and how long it would take to send. I don't see why we can't let her send it now. And if Phil can play it before the case is over, I'm okay with that.
Right. That's where I was going.
Okay.
That, if she rests at this point, then defense can put their side on and we can watch that later, possibly.
That was my concern. And I realize we're not formal with the rules, but if she rests at this point, then she can't put it on later.
Well, yeah, I thought we'd have, rules are a little liberal.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I think it'd be fine. I don't see any reason why she couldn't just present it when it comes up. And like I said, Phil has 4 other videos. If any of those other videos are outside, I think any one of those would be appropriate, I would think. But anyhow.
Okay.
I
You
do
mean
have a
just to
question.
show the dog itself?
I don't
Is
care
that
about
what you're
seeing the dog. We're here about hearing the dog. So if I just wanted to see the difference, that you were saying that the dog in the last video was inside the house, and I could clearly hear the dog carrying on. So I not I understand.
Oh yeah,
Maybe we didn't. I heard it just fine. I'm just wanting to hear the difference between it inside and out. That's all I'd like to hear.
Oh, right. And also the other videos show like that view is from here at my dining room, right outside my dining room. There's another view from my bedroom, which is, completely different, but even louder, just I guess because of the angle. But yeah, when they're outside, it's 10 times that even, which is,
I get it. And I do have I do have a question for you. Basically, I understand you have documented this for 2 years now, you said, correct? You have hundreds of videos.
Yeah, and it didn't start off every day. It just in 2019, it started becoming noticeable enough to start recording. It had not been any issue before that, and then it began, and just progressively, by 2020, mid 2020, it had reached every single solitary day, and just kind of going to show that. It's not as if, the moment the dog barks, I'm going to rush and complain. That's kind of the point that all this time went by. And I kept thinking, okay, it'll stop. She knows it's a problem. She'll do something about it. So I didn't want to escalate it, but yet she never did do anything. And the time in the past when I've tried to confront her, when 7 months after we moved in, my husband asked her to just, try and have the kids not screaming bloody murder all day long, every day, all summer, because it's, deafening over here. And she was completely unresponsive. She said, "Oh, they're kids. They should be allowed to do whatever they want." And
All right, we're not here about the kids. Again, we're here about the dogs.
Right, but I'm just saying from that moment, there was no ability. She was not open to, me confronting her with any kind of problem at all. So
Understood.
I think
Understood.
Can we agree to view any further videos after Mr. and Mrs. Corp? Hold on just a second. I think Mr. McFarlane do you have a question? Go.
Yes, sir, I do. What I'm trying to ascertain is, based on what you're saying, Ms. Bonner, it's confusing to me whether the majority of the instances occur with the dogs inside or outside. Can you answer that for me?
Definitely, when the dogs are inside the house.
Okay.
I almost never see them outside. It's very, very, very rare that they're outside.
Okay.
They're inside. That's the
Okay.
Okay, if we can move on at this point. We've heard from Ms. Bonner. We can hear from Mr. and Mrs. Corkill at this point, and any witnesses that you wish to call. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for letting me have an opportunity to speak. I do have a question. Are any of those videos from the complaints that we're addressing today, which would be 6/1/21 or 10/10/21?
Like I said, I'd have to look at the exact date. I wasn't even sure which date they chose but I can look at the date, and if the videos aren't, then I will find that specific date and send those.
All right, thank you so much. I wrote some things down because I'm a little nervous and I wanted to make sure I got all my points in. So bear with me, please. We have 2 dogs.
Can I just say something to Jen real quick? Am I able?
Excuse me.
Or I was just saying, am I able to say something to Jen?
Not at this point. We want to hear from Mr. and Mrs. McCorkle at this point. You'll have a chance to rebut.
Okay.
We have 2 dogs. Maggie May is our 8-year-old Labradoodle. We've had her since she was 3 months old. Monty is a mixed breed. He's 9 years old, and we adopted him from a rescue organization about 5 years ago. My husband, Steve, and I also have 2 children that live in our home, Sophie, who is 18 years old, and Shane, who's 16 years old. Our dogs do not bark incessantly or prolonged. They bark as any other dogs do occasionally. If they do bark, it's when a delivery person comes to our house or sometimes when another dog is being walked by our home. The barking stops as soon as the dog has passed our house or the delivery person leaves. We and our children discourage and stop our dogs from barking. We've never received complaints from any other neighbors or community members concerning our dogs barking. This is because our dogs do not bark incessantly or for prolonged periods. I do know that during many of the alleged barking events, 1 or more of my family members were home. I say this because my husband, during much of this time period, was working from home. My children were home during virtual school, or we were home on summer break. As Ms. Bonner mentioned, she is suing my husband and I for $5,000 based upon Ms. Bonner's claim that the barking of my family's dog has created a nuisance. September 16, 2020, I received an anonymous letter placed in my mailbox stating that I was ignorant and that neighbors had a right to walk their dogs without my dogs barking. In the note, it stated that we would be sued in court. I was very surprised and concerned when I received this note. The same day I received the anonymous note, I sent an email to the community email list requesting that the person that wrote the letter please speak to me so that we could talk about any concerns. Ms. Bonner still has not spoken to me in person, email, or via telephone regarding my dogs. I'm confident that if she had communication with me directly, she would find that it is not our dogs doing all the barking she is attributed to them. We have lived in our current home for 20 years. Will Eleanor is a close-knit community. On the few occasions that there have been matters between neighbors, the community members, the board, and our neighbors have worked together to resolve these disputes. I was raised to be a good neighbor. I am a good neighbor, and it's really important to me. Ms. Bonner's home is approximately 100 feet away from our house with a 6-foot fence between our properties. Within a 1 block surrounding our homes, there are 10 homes that have dogs living in their house, on their property. These dogs bark as all dogs do. And in my experience, it's not always easy to determine which house or which dog the barking is coming from. It's not possible for me to see inside Ms. Bonner's home from inside my home. And likewise, it's not possible to see inside our house from Ms. Bonner's home. I believe that when the dogs are barking, when it could be coming from, blames our dogs for barking, when in fact it could be a neighbor's dog between our house and Route 2 or another house. When I recognize that Ms. Bonner is upset, my family's dogs do not bark to the extent she is alleged and are not the source of her upset. As Ms. Bonner mentioned, when my children were younger and playing on the trampoline in the middle of the day, Ms. Bonner would scream and curse and use threatening words out her window directed towards my children and myself. Throughout the last year, from her window or deck, she has screamed and cursed at me and called me names, made threatening statements such as, "You're gonna get it," quote unquote. In August 2021, she pulled her car behind my driveway as I was attempting to drive away in my car with my daughter and proceeded again to call me names and use threatening words. This was witnessed by several neighbors that were outside at the time. October 14th, 2021, My daughter and I talked on her screen porch. When we were talking on her screen porch, Ms. Bonner screamed from her window, "To mark this day on my calendar, you have no idea what is coming. Something big is about to happen," unquote. I was concerned for my safety and for the safety of my family, and I contacted the police at that time. When Ms. Bonner approached my daughter and I in August and again in October, she did not make any complaints about my family's dog. Rather, she made personal attacks and threats without reference to the dogs. While I do recognize that she's upset, my family's dogs do not bark to the extent she's alleged and are not the source of her upset.
If I might,
Sure.
just, I'm an architect who works in the state of Maryland for the state of Maryland and other public and private institutions, and I have to know and be expert with sound and decibel levels. And when one of the instances, I think we're speaking about these two dates. I have no idea why we're talking about other things, but these two dates, one of them has my name in it when I was speaking with a neighbor on the street, and the dogs barked for those, I believe, few minutes. And I will tell you, as an expert on decibel levels, I can have a normal conversation at the street, which is roughly 50 feet from the front of my house where the dogs are in the house. And it was roughly something under 37 decibels. That's a speaking level that the dogs I do not have to elevate my voice, and that's always the case. So the times that, until I go back and the dogs settle, I believe it's less than 37 decibels. What I saw today had nothing to do, the video had nothing to do with this case, but I do believe, based on my understanding of noise, that was a rare occurrence that the back slider was open on the porch and not indicative of a typical day. I also did not grow up with dogs, and I do not tolerate noise and dogs barking for any length. I think we usually get them to settle down after a minute or so, and I think it's a good segue into our defense and our defendants.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay, I thank you. Do you have any particular order for your witnesses?
No, we don't.
Okay, why don't we start with Ms. Hughes?
Thank you, commissioners. I live catty corner. My house is diagonal from Jenny and Steve, and I also am a dog owner. My husband walks our dog promptly every morning at about 9 a.m. And as he walks past other homes, occasionally the dogs will bark to announce our dog's passing of their home. Once the dog and my husband have passed the home, the barking stops. Our dog also occasionally barks in the backyard when we play ball with her. She is very much a dog who likes to play catch, and so will bark if we aren't throwing the ball fast enough. So that's my part of the testimony. I don't know Courtney. I realize she lives in the neighborhood, but she is not particularly a member of our community in that she participates in any of their community activities that we have throughout the year. Do you have any questions for me?
Why don't, at this point in time, if there are no questions, we can move on to Ms. Alter and Ms. McGarry. Okay?
Thank you very much.
All right, Ms. Alter?
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I've lost your video, so I'm not too sure. My name is, as I said, Mary Alter. I live at 20 Will Eleanor, which is it's opposite Courtney and opposite Jenny. The dogs bark on occasion. A little bit of history that before COVID, many of the neighbors would go out and walk, and Maggie, especially being there longer, used to join the other dogs and walk around the neighborhood. And so when she sees some of her like old friends that are walking down the street in front of her house, she will bark. not incessantly, but it's like, hey, I want to join you, because she's used to socializing with 2 or 3 of these dogs. And so I hear it if I'm out in the front yard, if I'm on my porch. I do not hear Maggie or Monty barking in the house. In the course, the closer I go to the street to get the mail or something like that, the barking is louder. If I get back towards the house, it gets quieter. And I live probably in front of the Corkill's house, as opposed to Courtney being on the side of it. And the dogs, when they are barking at other dogs in the street, are barking towards the street. So their sound is aimed towards my house versus Courtney's. And I really do not find it annoying, even when I'm out in the yard. They don't bark incessantly. As I say, they do bark when I go to the mailbox because they want to play with me. I've known them since they both arrived. And I want to point out that we are a very dog-friendly neighborhood. And as they come from Jenny's house, past mine, past Courtney's, the community in general walks their dogs to the end of the street where we have a community pier. So it's sort of a destination. And so we get a constant stream, especially lunchtime, mid-afternoon. Everybody's out walking their dog down towards the community pier and then back again. And so there's a lot of dog activity. And Maggie and now Monty greet them. And it's basically a greeting. It's, as I say, not that loud. And when I'm in, I can hear them on my front porch faintly. If I'm in the house, cannot hear them. And I guess that's basically what I'd like to say.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Alter. Ms. McGarry?
Yes, thank you. My name is Barbara McGarry. My house is next door to the Corkills. It's considerably closer to the Corkills' house and yard than is the house of the complainant. The back of my house is approximately 37 feet from the property line of the Corkills. I have never been disturbed or bothered by the barking of the Corkill dogs. If I am at the side edge of my property and the dogs see me from the window of a nearby inside room, I have heard them bark, but never for more than a few minutes at a time. Moreover, the barking is not disturbing to me. In my view, it is no louder than occasional barking of other neighborhood dogs, seemingly outside in their owners' yards. In the community, there are approximately 57 or so homes, and currently, and at any one time over the last few years, there are about 20 plus some dogs. In refute of the complainant comment that on 10/10/21, the dog's barking was, quote, loud enough to radiate through my entire house, end quote, while the dogs were inside the Corkill house, I have the following remarks. The back door to my house, to the window of the room where the dogs sometimes stay, is about 65 feet. If the dogs bark when they are inside the Corkill's house, I cannot hear that barking inside my house. To make sure this is the case, I had a person who was a stranger to the dogs walk up the Corkill's driveway, and as I stood inside my house, near my back door, the person signaled me when the dogs were barking. The barking could not be heard inside my house. Because the complaint for 6/1/2021 does not state if the dogs were inside or outside, I make the following comments about the dogs being outside in their fenced-in area, an area that is much closer to my house than it is to the house of the complainant. The distance between my house and the fenced-in area in the Corkill's backyard is approximately 48 feet. I have never witnessed the dogs barking for a lengthy period of time or making, as stated in the complaint, quote, an extreme disturbance, end quote, while they are outside in this fenced-in area. To the contrary, I have witnessed that the Corkills tend to the dogs immediately by having the dogs go back inside at the first sound of barking. I state in conclusion that I do not think the 2 complaints against Jennifer Corkill are valid. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGarry. Is there anything else, Mr. and Ms. Corkill? Corkill?
Yes. Our dogs, I can say across the board are pretty much never outside unattended. Mostly we have a screen and porch that's adjacent to the fenced in area, and I'm out on the screen porch when they're outside. Part of that has to do with we have fox and deer and raccoons and all kinds of wildlife in our neighborhood. So I'm concerned for that. So they're not out barking, certainly outside barking unattended ever. I did want to mention in the video, we still don't know the date of that video, but in the video that Ms. Bonner showed, there is a dog present in our yard that could have been causing our dogs to bark.
Okay, thank you.
I might just end our discussion here by our defense, I suppose, by saying, I feel like there's something else going on here. I don't know if you all are getting that. I am not happy that the informalness of this, we take it very seriously, but the informalness of this allows there to be videos that have nothing to do with the case. But the noise is not a loud noise, and we can control our dogs. And we're very, very surprised and don't understand what this is about, but I don't believe it's about the dogs.
Thank you. Okay, and it is an informal, but we trust the commission to see exactly what is presented and what is relevant and what is irrelevant. Having that said, we will go back to Ms. Bonner if she has anything else to present.
Ed, I had my hand raised because I had a question for the Corkles.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
I understand there's a dispute over the date and time of the video that we heard, but my question was, even if that video was a different date, I could clearly hear the dog barking, and it looked to me like that video, I mean, it was being taken, or correct me if I'm wrong, from Ms. Bonner's house. So I was curious, Mrs. Corkle, that was you we see sitting in front of your house in that video?
That's correct.
Could you hear the dogs at that point?
Did I hear the dogs?
Yes.
I can't speak. I can't tell you what happened then, but I would say yes, most likely.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question actually before we move on, Phil. Maybe Phil, you can help out because, looking through the file, we're talking about the dates here and the date of that video. There's two complaints with the dates 6/1 and 6/10, but there were multiple, Ms. Bonner's alluded to the fact that there were multiple complaints. Is there any specific reason why we're only seeing, one citation for those two dates and none for any of those other complaint dates? Were those two just chosen for, why do we end up with just those two?
By and large, the citations are issued somewhat arbitrarily. If there's multiple affidavits for the same type of violation, in this case, animal disturbance prohibited for multiple separate incidences, I usually try and go with the most recent, but it could have just been that it was at the top of a very large stack, and I started with that one and worked my way through. So the dates are somewhat arbitrary. The supporting documentation was issued attached to that citation. So any affidavit that is marked supporting documents is tied to it, essentially. So that's why there could be, many different videos from the supporting documents issued in reference to the original citation. So, yeah.
All right, thank you, Phil. I just wanted to clear that up. It's not something we usually see, so thank you.
Okay, any more questions for the defendants?
Yeah, I have a question. For the Corkles, Ms. Bonner stated that largely this is resolved since the filing of either this or the court case. I was wondering if you guys have done anything different to precipitate that.
Thank you for asking that question. I wrote that down as a comment. We always do our best to get the dogs to stop barking. That's always been what we've done, and we've done nothing since October when she put the papers forward to the court. So I found that to be very interesting as well. But again, we're good neighbors. We've never had anybody complain. We do everything we can to keep our dogs from barking. I was talking to a neighbor and the dog was passing by. That's why the dogs were barking. I can't say for sure, but perhaps I went inside or the dog stopped barking when the neighbor walked by. That's what I can say to that. But we do everything we can in good faith to keep our dogs from barking inside or outside. We don't want to hear it either. And we certainly want to be good neighbors and don't want our neighbors to be disturbed.
Thank you.
I will say this is on record, correct? I would say for the record, the one video sounds to me, and I'm fairly sure that, hey, she says she's looking through the window. It looks to me like she's on her porch, but it sounds to me that the slider in our house was open that day. And that's not indicative of any given day. That's actually very rare. So that as part of evidence, not being any one of those dates is concerning to us.
Thank you.
Mr. Corkell, just to alleviate some of your concern, this type of proceeding is an informal proceeding and we're not bound by the rules of procedure like this case will be in district court. So the concerns you're raising now over the videos are certainly valid concerns to raise before the district court judge, but it's a little different in this scenario since parties are allowed and oftentimes encouraged to bring in supporting documents that for that incident. And I understand your concern that there's been nothing to validate the fact that that particular video occurred on the one date that this citation references or the two dates that this citation references. But as you heard Mr. Hall say, it was almost like random that they picked those dates out of the stack of 56 complaints. So I please don't think for a second that we're not hearing your concerns. It's just a little different in an informal commission proceeding like this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right. Seeing no further questions for the defendant, we'll go back to Ms. Bonner for any response or anything further you want to add.
I just want to add that quickly. Well, yes, just like Stephen keeps referring to one particular video and how it has nothing to do with the case. Again, my complaint was I filed 56 complaints, and it would have been double that, but I know that you limit it to a 12-month period. So yeah, the videos that I sent and have may or may not be that specific date in the citation. However, every video that I have supports the 56 complaints that I sent. So and also, they say, oh, maybe the dog barks a minute or so and, they're diligent in stopping it. Well, that would be impossible considering every video I have, and even the ones I've sent, are several minutes long of continued barking, period. Whether the door is open, whether their door is open or closed is irrelevant. The fact is, if the dogs are loud enough, inside, outside, windows open, closed, whatever the case, they're loud enough to be heard from inside my house or even outside on my deck on my property for beyond reasonable barking, then that is the issue. Whether another neighbor, Mary across the street, yes, the front of her house is what faces Jen, but is also two houses down, and it's the front of her house. One of the witnesses, Mary, the witness, and the back of her house faces the opposite direction to the water. So, they don't even have any windows. They don't have any reason to really be in the front of the house hearing the dogs. That's completely different setup at my house. Also, yes, there are probably actually about 40 dogs in this neighborhood, and where my house is situated, I could probably hear most of them if they were constantly barking. And I do hear other dogs bark. When dogs are, outside or something, I hear other dogs in the neighborhood, absolutely. However, that's exactly why it's easy to tell the difference between the incredible disturbance of Jen's dogs versus normal barking, because every other dog I see or hear is just that, a brief period alerting their owner to something, whatever the case, a passerby, that's fine. But Jen's dogs, it doesn't stop when a delivery driver leaves or somebody passes. It continues on and on and on and on. And additionally, I shouldn't have to be disturbed, for 10, 20 minutes at a time, every single time Amazon drives by the house or stops at a neighbor's house, or somebody walks their dogs or somebody walks their kids down the street. And that's what happens. And again, it's not, they keep saying, oh, they stop them right away. But it's a fact that they don't, because the videos show that. They
Okay,
show Jen.
I have a suggestion. Excuse me. I just have a suggestion here at this point. Philip, roughly in your estimation, how much time would it take to play the rest of the videos that you have on file there?
Of the 5 that were submitted, 1 was viewed. It wouldn't, not that long, honestly.
I
Okay.
think the last one,
If
5 minutes.
if there's no further issues here, why don't we just, for the record, keeping in mind that technically today we're only here for the 2 citations, the 6-1 and the 6-10. Let us just view the videos while we're here and just get it all out if we can.
All right, I'll start chewing through them here. Get the second one up. Share that video.
I'm not hearing any sound with this one.
Let me see if I can change how it's playing. It didn't give me a prompt this time. Share screen. Thank you, Zoom. here.
Say something real fast. Hello.
We can hear you.
Oh, I just emailed that one video that shows the dog outside, the black dog in the backyard.
I gotcha. See about this video here. Share number 3. Nope. Share it with audio Zoom, please and thank you. There we go.
I'm inside of my living room. This is what I have to hear.
All right, number 4. And share that one with audio.
That's from my bedroom.
Excuse me, that last video, that is not our dog barking. That's a neighbor's dog. That is not 100%. That is not our dog barking.
I will agree. It's my dog chasing a squirrel, or trying to get a squirrel. That is not their dog. That is my dog. And yes,
Well, I
she's
have-
loud when she's after a squirrel.
Okay.
Okay, well, I have
Problem,
video
Not our dog.
part of the
for
problem,
2 years.
not differentiating.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So you can show,
That
if you
is,
want to even,
hold on just a second. Is that all the videos, Phil?
We got
the one
one
that
more.
says
Okay.
The new one. So let me share that with audio, please.
this is the intermittent bark that will last for 2 hours easily.
Lieutenant McFarlane has a question.
Mr. Evans, the last video is also not Jenny's dogs. That's my dog. We
Okay.
take her out between 10 and 2 twice a day and run her to play ball. I
Okay.
don't want Jenny to be in trouble for my dogs barking.
Okay. Lieutenant McFarlane has the floor.
Ms. Bonner, in all of the videos in which you're complaining about the barking, they all seem to take place during daylight hours. Is it safe to say or assume that the issue is during the day, or is it throughout the night as well?
It's not throughout the night. It's anywhere up until the latest has been up until like 11 p.m. But when it's that late, it's not been, maybe it's 5 minutes worth, but it's not often. Like I said, it hasn't happened since, a little bit before Christmas, but before that it was up until about 11 p.m. Yeah. And that last dog, no, I've walked over to my fence. I've walked right to the edge up to near the side of Jen's house. And that barking happens, like I said, it's been happening for years. It's not a one-time thing that, oh, this is this or that dog. It's the same sound over and over and over. Like I said, the final video that I just sent shows the one dog outside, so you can see that dog and hear the barking that goes with it. That's one of the two dogs. It's easy to separate that sound from any other dogs, and any other dogs don't come from the same direction anyway. They're all a little bit different, coming from different homes. So, I know after a couple years worth of living next door to Jen and recording what her dogs sound like. She sat in the front yard with the white dog, the doodle, and that dog's barked too, sitting outside with her. So there's video of each dog barking and what they sound like. And I mean, it's not a question. But again, I think the neighbors are focusing on specific occasion. And, out of the 56 that I filed and the hundreds that are recorded, okay, if one or two, by some slim chance happens to be the next door neighbors, but that still leaves the other 99% that are Jen's.
That's not true. The neighbor's dogs bark, and you cannot differentiate between my dog and the neighbor's dog. And we do our best to be
Okay. We're not going to break down to arguing at this point in time. Ms. Bonner, do you have anything specific, excuse me, that you can present to us? Technically, we're here for the citations of 6-1 and 6-10. Do you have anything in particular to say about those two incidents?
I'll have to. What was the exact complaint for those exact dates? I'm not looking at the.
Okay, it was same complaint.
But also, if you wouldn't mind playing the final video, which I think I just reduced it to 2 minutes or something, so I could send it quickly. But that's the one that shows the dog outside and then her coming to get it. So clearly they were home, but that video is actually, I think that original video is about 27 minutes long. So she was home and eventually goes to the porch to bring the dog in. But that also shows what it sounds like when the dog's outside.
Sorry, Courtney, are you done? Can I ask a question for the officers, and this speaks to the hearing? So videos are an important part of this, and I understand that, but I hope that the hearing folks know that the sound is not, in my understanding of these phones, if this is all based on a phone mic, these mics are designed to be very, very sensitive. The sound that she's getting are nearly, except for one of those, are on her porch, but they're that mic is picking up whatever it can in a very sensitive way. And that is not a representative sound that I believe is close to actual decibel levels at her porch or in her house. It's simply not. And if you all, I would hope that you would have some history on how these mics work on cell phones. This is not an accurate representation. And I only speak to that because these affidavits that I will refute every one of them, but these affidavits almost always speak of noise, loud, amplified, and I just don't see how this could be a fair representation. I don't believe it to be accurate.
Mr. Corkle, I actually am not an expert in noise levels, but I know what I just heard. Despite the decibel levels, are you disputing that she was hearing this from inside her home?
I am. At one point, the one that she spoke about being, and she had opened her window, mind you, but she was in one of her rooms. The others looked like they were on her porch. And again, I'm not disputing, but it's not. We're speaking apples and oranges, and this is a very serious. We're defending against things that are inaccuracies. We're speaking about noise that I don't believe this mic is actually an accurate representation of the real deal here. Our neighbors, as defendants, said they're not being bothered and they're much closer than she is because we've got an issue with loudness.
Hold on, let him talk.
I'm just very unfortunate that we're doing this based on cell phone mics, and I do believe that there's a serious problem with differentiation between the dogs. I don't believe she's a dog owner and cannot be the expert. Our dogs, we know our dogs barks versus others.
Thank you.
I guess that doesn't really answer my question. Like I said, I understand that cell phones aren't perfect, and unfortunately, we have to deal with the technology that we have at hand. But are you disputing that she was? I mean, the one video was in her kitchen, or I'm looking at a refrigerator and I'm hearing a dog bark, and are you telling me that's not real?
It may not be our dog, as we've shown.
That may be true, but but Mr. Corkle, you're not saying that sound couldn't clearly be heard in front of her refrigerator, are you?
I saw 2 out of those whatever number of videos that were in the house with the window open. Yes, those 2, I am not refuting those were in the house. I don't think one of them was our dogs, at least one of them. And the other videos are out on her porch. And again, it's the mic. The mic is an issue, but we can certainly, because of the sensitivity, hear the different dog barks.
But it's not okay for us, for our dogs to disturb anybody. But our point is that they don't bark incessantly. They don't bark prolonged. They bark occasionally when someone walks past, or if I'm standing out in my yard and I'm talking to a neighbor with a dog in my yard. It's
the last video, there was nobody walking by, and that video was 5 minutes long.
Okay. Here's where we are at this particular point. Phil, is there another video, or have we played them all?
She has submitted another video. However, I'm only receiving audio off of that file. I know she did mention that it showed the dogs out in the backyard, and I can certainly hear barking off of it, but I can't get any video off of the codec.
Okay, I just, before we close for deliberation, I just want to make sure that everybody is satisfied with the presentation of their arguments and counter arguments. Let's see if we can get that up. Give it a couple minutes or so. Does anybody have any further questions or statements? We don't want to break down to being argumentative, but any other information that would help us decide this particular issue or issues? Any further questions at all before we break for deliberate? Anybody at all?
I just want to say that I believe this is personal, and I'm being harassed. Courtney's never spoken to me directly regarding this issue. Neighbors talk to neighbors. That's how we are good neighbors. She sent an anonymous note and hollers at me outside of her window, curses and threatens.
Then if that was the case, why would that be? Because there's a problem that you're not addressing. And also, that was incorrect. You said I just pulled up behind your driveway and started, saying things. As I was passing your driveway with my top down on my car, you turned around as you got out of your vehicle, looked at me, your daughter was getting out of her side, and you started barking with your own voice.
That is not correct.
And then went back. And then so I stopped and made a comment that, then you're going to have legal action coming against you. And it was then that I filed a case because that was the final draw. You made barking sounds mocking me. And in that video right there, the first one shows you sitting there. And when you see me recording, you do that and then get up and say for the camera to hear to the neighbor, oh, there's animal control. I guess I better go control my
Ms.
animal.
Bonner, I don't mean to
All
continue,
right.
but I think we've been over
Let's,
this already.
Yeah, let's move on from this. How you making out with that last video, Phil?
Well, again, there's audio. There is not a video element to the file. That's not something I can clear up on my end. If Ms. Bonner has the video on her computer, she could attempt to share the screen if it's playable.
I mean, if it means anything to you, Ed, I feel like I've seen enough evidence one way or other to make a ruling. I don't think one more video is going to change anything we've already come to at this point, my personal opinion.
All right. Now, just making sure everyone is satisfied with the presentation of their case, because we're down to personal arguments, it seems here. So our next step is to break for deliberation of the commission, and during that deliberation, no one else can break in and speak. So
can I just add one note?
Unless one of the commissioners has a question while we're deliberating, I want that understood that you will all be muted, and the commission alone will be deliberating. Okay, so speak now or forever hold your peace.
I just wanted to add, either Jen or Stephen think that it's based on a personal matter, a dispute with you guys, personally, and that's simply not the case. And really, for me, all it comes down to is, first of all, I love animals, and I don't blame the dogs. I blame the owners in that case. But anyway, my bottom line is, all I want is normal ability to enjoy my space without serious major disturbance. That's it. And like I said, that has been the case since I filed claims against them. They have done whatever they've done, but the disturbances have stopped pretty much. So
okay, we got
that's
that.
all. That's what my goal was. And so, I just said in the beginning, hey, I recognize, sorry if it's been a disturbance I didn't realize. We'll do something about it. But that never happened. And
we
so,
never had the opportunity to speak.
We got that. Mr. and Ms. McCorkle, you have, we're ready to close. Okay. So we're going to close for deliberation at this point. Okay. Let's begin. Jennifer?
Not.
Oh, sorry. Can someone mute us?
Give me just 1 second. I'm moving everybody over to attendee status. They will rejoin and we will be all good.
There we go.
Looks good.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Even though this is an informal proceeding, it's still a civil matter. So I'm going to assume that we're going by the preponderance of the evidence standard, which basically just means it's more likely than not that something happened. And I think I'm convinced that it's more likely than not that that Miss Bonner has, had to deal with some excessive barking on a regular basis. At least I'm convinced from what I've heard. There is no specific noise ordinance that I'm aware of, and I like a specific decibel level for different times of day or night in an instance like this. I did look through the 56 complaints, and it does seem to be at varying times during the day and sometimes in the evening as well. I realized one or two of those videos, or even, a handful of the things that she's heard might have been other neighbors' dogs. But I'm convinced at this point that it was the Corporal's dogs. I was a bit concerned by Miss Hughes' testimony, because it does seem that a lot of folks in the neighborhood have dogs and they are a tight community because of that. But Miss Hughes made the comment that Miss Bonner wasn't really a part of their community. And I found that troublesome. It seems to me like maybe there's a little bit of backlash against non-pet owners in that community. That bothered me. That also tended to sort of taint the rest of Miss Hughes's testimony for me. So I'm not entirely convinced that some of those videos were actually her dog either. But in any event, there doesn't seem to be much dispute in my mind that the incidents happened and that the citation should be upheld.
Thank you, Jennifer. Matthew?
Well, I think we've seen clear evidence that there has been barking. We don't really have evidence whose dog's been barking. And as the complainant said, the issue is really resolved recently. I think that it should be upheld, but I'd be open to reducing it given our current state of lack of a problem.
Thank you, Matthew. Tom?
I'm pretty much in agreement with Jennifer. 56 complaints brought. I mean, I understand that there could be some question about when those videos were taken, but I think, Ms. Bonner was right in saying that, she's showing kind of what a general day is there. We always ask people to become this prepared, and sometimes we don't get that. So to have that preparation, to have it all documented and written down. Also to Ms. Brienza's first, question about Miss Corporal sitting there, while the dog continued to bark, just sitting there for a couple minutes while the dog barked instead of dealing with the situation. I think all those things to me, regardless of, all the personal stuff that goes on, I'm looking at disturbance prohibited. And to me, I think, like you said, there's no specific decibel level that needs to be reached. It just depends on kind of, the whole situation there. So I'd be willing to uphold, if like Matthew said, I can see where, if the issue's starting to kind of calm down, maybe we uphold one and maybe dismiss the other. I wouldn't be against that, but I think it would be perfectly legitimate to uphold both as well.
Thank you, Tom. Lieutenant?
I guess I might just be the oddball out, and maybe it's because of my background and my experience with disturbing the peace. The first thing I wanted to find out here is what constitutes a disturbance, and I think that differs from one person to another. I think while there is no set standard, from what I'm understanding, on what decibel level has to be reached, I do think that there has to be some kind of identifier or parameter set for this ordinance in order to keep it from going from the ridiculous to the sublime, so to speak. My neighbor has garbage cans that he takes out, and I can hear them in my house when he takes the garbage cans out. I can call that a disturbance, and everyone else in the neighborhood would say that that's a normal occurrence. So I do think, Ms. Brienza, you're right. There seems to be a dog owner type kind of clique, if you will, in the community. But I do believe Miss, I believe there's justification in numbers. There's 3 people here to testify on behalf of the Corkles. If this was really a disturbance for other people in the area that aren't dog owners, and I think he said, or there was some information that, you know, half of the homes had dogs versus the other half that doesn't. I'm sure somebody else could have came forward to testify. The last video had loud music playing from an amplified source, which is what we go off of from the police department standpoint, as well as hours and time of day that needs to be considered to keep it reasonable. And I think that's the key in this case, is keeping it reasonable, whether this is a disturbance or not. The last video had loud music playing from an amplified source, but the complaint was about the barking and not the music. And I know this is ongoing, 56 complaints, with the duration being anywhere from 9 to 31 minutes, I believe. Now, you know, it doesn't have to be that loud, but if it's going on for a period of time, up to 30 minutes, then, you know, then a reasonable person would say, yes, okay, now we're starting to venture into the area of disturbance. But 5 minutes here, 9 minutes there, I think this is more of a neighbor dispute, and it fits within that category, and it centers around the barking. And I believe it's a lack of communication on both parts. I think if the Corkles were as good neighbors as they say they would take their dog to some kind of training or do what have you. The problem I had was the barking being inside the house is the norm, as Ms. Bonner stated. The dogs aren't outside, and I think once they're inside your house, you know, I don't think there's much you can do at that point or have to complain about. I have 1 or 2 other issues here. I think you know where I'm going with it. I don't want to hold it forward too long.
No, that's fine.
The decibel level I talked about. I didn't know if animal control law, the animal county ordinance for noise disturbance, was different for animals versus what we enforce. But again, I'm going off of what my experience is, and it is a decibel level that officers are trained to listen for, and it's from an amplified source, and it's a certain amount of distance away. Most of the videos were taken outside or with a window open. I think Mr. Corkle had a point. You know, how do you know that this is their dog? They admitted to it at other times, and the neighbor jumped on the sword at other times. The microphone thing really didn't win me over as far as a defense. I do think she can hear it from inside her home, but I don't know if it was the window was open or was not open. I do know that every instance in which she showed a video, her home was very quiet and there was nothing else going on. I live near an airport, and the planes fly over it every day. After a while, it becomes white noise. In the beginning, I can understand it being a problem or what have you. I think maybe this is something that she might be focusing on. But again, goes back to the communication between the two, and the fact that we have a neighbor dispute that is at this point irreconcilable. As far as the dates, I understand, you know, and I'm not going to make a big deal about that. She is a pet owner. She does love animals. She has a cat, not a dog. I don't know if that makes a difference, but I think my main points have been met, in which I think Ms. Bonner, due to the neighbor dispute, the lack of communication, and all of the other circumstances that I put forward, I think it's a little bit unreasonable. And that's just where I'm at. I don't know where to go from there. If you want to mark down or, you know, follow up with one versus the other, I just don't think it's a reasonable argument for disturbance, especially when there's other neighborhood dogs barking and things of that nature. I think it's personal.
Thank you. Philip must have read my mind, because I was going to suggest that the actual prohibition or citation Can everybody read that? What Phil put up? Having said that, I agree with um, the basics of what everybody has said. I do believe that there is a problem here. I do believe that it's degraded into personal, which makes it worse than it really is. It exaggerates some of the situations. But I do believe there is a dog disturbance in the neighborhood. Do we have any suggestions on a finalization?
What are the fine amounts? Are there fines attached to these citations, correct?
I believe
should be
each 50.
$50, yeah, $50 each.
Okay, I mean, like I said, I understand there's some disagreement among us commission members. I think the citations should be upheld, but I'd be open to reducing the fines.
Yeah, I was thinking reduce both by half, leave both on one on each bet, but both to $25.
I'm good with that.
I'll be okay with that.
We have a motion.
Motion to uphold the citations, but reduce them by half. So put each citation at $25.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor? Motion carried. I guess at this point, Tom, you would be responsible for the minutes of the last meeting.
Sure, actually, yes. I don't know that I took the time to review it like I did last time. Are they?
You came in and signed them physically. Let's
Oh.
see.
I thought,
7.
did I? Yeah, that's right. I forgot I did that too. It's been a crazy month.
You are a proactive gentleman. Let me just get you the digital copy so you can put eyeballs on it. Go. And then what I'll do moving forward, since Ed, you obtain a physical copy of the records, I will start to include the prior meeting's minutes so that way you can review it and sign it. And then when you drop the binder off, I'll have it.
Great. And once we're done, I do have a couple questions. I guess they would have to either go to you, Phil, or Robin. So hang in there for a minute.
Absolutely. If I can answer them, I'm happy to.
Where did you send those minutes to my email, or are they just out on the server?
To the HD version.
Gotcha. There we go. Give me 1 second here.
Well, I guess I can ask the first question. It's related to the case we just heard. We have we heard technically 2 of the 56 complaints today. What would be the status of the remaining 54?
So there's supporting documentation for the 2 that were cited. Essentially, it's one case, and when these are resolved, or they have been, they'll be resolved conjoined.
Okay. Okay, so they won't be coming behind. Okay, and I guess this one goes to Robin. I'm just a little, I'm kind of concerned that we're missing 2 commissioners, and that if Tom can't make it one time or in the future, I think you mentioned we might not make quorum. Is there any effort to get 2 more people on board?
There's been a huge effort. We did actually have a little bit of progress this weekend, though. And so it looks like Office of Law is working on doing the review so that a veterinarian can be back on the board. So Dr. Hemmer, that has been on the board before, resubmitted his resume and his conflict of interest form to me this weekend, and I sent that over. And so that'll hopefully be moving forward. And I have been told by the folks that are in charge of boards and commissions that they are going to step up advertising to get that at-large position filled as well. Because as you all know, these positions are filled by the county exec's office. And
So while I can do my best to try to grease the wheels, I don't have the ability to actually fill the spots myself.
Can't go over and bang on the door. No.
Dr. Himmer will definitely be, well, it'd be good to have Dr. Himmer back. He'll hit the ground running here. He's been here and done that. So that'll be good for us. As far as, don't worry about us, Ed. I mean, as far as the health department goes, if I'm not around, there should be somebody to replace me.
Okay.
A really crazy circumstance. I'll always do my best to get somebody to replace me. It will likely be Greg Fuentes, but it could always, we might be able to bring other people in. So don't worry about the health department. We should have you covered.
Okay. Last question is, with the COVID restrictions being lifted, has there been any talk of having in-person hearings?
We have been talking about it, and Curran is on here, and I'm sure you would say that we are going to be working towards moving towards having those again, because that's what other boards and commissions have been doing. During COVID, our section had kind of usurped the training room to use it for extra space because it's been so out of use for such time. So we're working on getting that room back organized. Do any of you members have concerns about that or things that you want to raise?
I'm good either way. I mean, in person for a lot of these hearings sometimes is easier, especially with documentary evidence. But like the video evidence we saw today, that is not always as easy in person, unless, I don't know what your setup's like, because everything's been virtual since I came on the board. But, if you don't have document cameras set up for them to use, and there aren't, projectors available, what we just saw would have been very difficult.
Well, we generally huddle around cell phones.
Yes.
We have a computer now too that makes things better.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm
with a big screen TV now.
It's, I guess it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. There's a lot of convenience to doing it over Zoom, but sometimes for most of the community presenting evidence, it's easier in person. I really don't care. I'll do whatever.
I mean, my concern with in-person has always been just make sure we have proper law enforcement. I know, Officer McFarland's there, having somebody there just in case. We've had situations where things get squirrely in person, and just making sure we have that available, especially, I just know through my daily job at the health department, throughout the pandemic, people get really frustrated, and that's been amplified lately. So, I don't want to see anything crazy happen. So that would be my biggest concern kind of going into it.
I think that that is a good reason to have it continue to be on Zoom. It keeps the peace, and it is more convenient, actually, for me, especially. I'm running a platoon and a shift out here, and I'm kind of doing double duty, so it's a little easier for me to do the Zoom. So that would be my vote, and also to keep the peace. So.
Well, if you don't have anything else, I did review the minutes from last month, and I fully agree. So I will take a motion to uphold I guess you can take the motion to uphold the minutes from last month. Everything looked good.
Okay. We got the second on that motion from Tom? Second from Matthew. Okay, all in favor? All right. Now I suppose we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right. Thank you, Ed.
All right. Hey, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you all. Great job, Ed.
You're a great team. Thank you. Thank you.